I was scared I would sit on the toilet and someone was gonna stab me.
Or like a snake would come.
A snake, yes, under the bed, darkness, being outside too late.
There's something bad here in Derry.
When was the first time you saw Bill in makeup or in costume on set, and what was that like?
We had dinner at Andy's house. Met him for the first time the night before, and then I saw him the next day in costume. I wasn't working, but I wanted to go and see his first day. And I was like, I gotta see this But the contrast between him eating pizza, and then the next day having the makeup on is still alarming.
It's epic. You're watching a real life monster in front of you.
I just find him, just his energy, he's so embodied and incredibly captivating. He's also really tall and has these incredible eyes. We all know those eyes. But he's one of those amazing people that he's in character and then he comes out and he's Bill. And so we're over here talking about Ingmar Bergman, and I'm like, which side is your dad on? Is he a Bergman or not? He's telling me the tea on how the Swedes like or don't like. And that was kind of my conversation with Pennywise. It was like about Ingmar Bergman, which I think is super iconic.
With any actor who is incredibly committed to what they're doing, we're lucky because we got to see the legacy of his work already. So we knew we're gonna fire on all 10 cylinders, we're gonna really go for this. And then working with him was that. It was being with a human being who's fully committed to the work that he's done, and it's incredible to volley with someone who can be present inside of their character.
I missed you.
When you think about expanding this Stephen King macroverse, where do you even start with the source material?
We knew that we were talking about the interludes of the book, which is basically those chapters in the book where Mike Hanlon talks about the big events in the previous 3 cycles, which is the burning of the Black Spot and massacre of the Bradley Gang and the explosion of the Kitchener Iron Works. We had that as a blueprint. And then it was about, basically putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Our human characters Mike Hanlon tried desperately to put those pieces together, so we are putting those pieces together. And it's part of my curiosity and our curiosity as creators is like explain some things and also create some new other enigmas that are more about the big arc of the show.
This business with the missing kids, do I need to be concerned?
We begin with theme. What are the themes in Stephen King's original story? What are the themes throughout his work? And how can we weave those themes into our story? The obvious theme that comes to the fore is the weaponization of fear and how fear is used as a tool to control, to, just to hold people down, and keep them in their place and divide and conquer. Obviously a theme that is very relevant, as relevant today as it was in 1962. I always start with theme. I love doing very complex, multi-character, interweaving storylines in all of the projects that I work on. And everyone felt the same way. Let's paint on a really large canvas, just like Stephen King in his 1,000-page book. Let's paint on the largest canvas we can, and Andy and Barbara were completely down for that as well.
Want to sign it for you?
Nah, I didn't like the ending.
What was that process like? Andy obviously has a great kind of scope of what he wanted to accomplish. How collaborative was the process with Andy?
I mean, Andy is like a 5-year-old. Like, I think if he could, we'd shoot 20 hours straight. It would just be like a long sleepover. He has a trumpet that he plays, the bugle, and basically if it's not going well, he'll play it really badly. He'll be like,
That means it's bad?
within the context, you could tell when it was like, oh, we're doing it again, like,
Or
he'd be like,
let's move things along. Yes.
and then it would be like,
We were in touch with
Moving on.
Andy's inner child
We were-
via that trumpet.
yeah.
Without giving anything away, Jovan and I have a scene that just felt like in the moment we were figuring it out. And these were fundamental questions to the rules of the world and how things are going to move. And so it was very visceral and exciting and on the razor's edge because it was really like me and Andy talking at that moment. It's like, okay, rolling.
Something is like being born with like right
In the moment.
Even I have a little tiny idiosyncrasy. 1962, women don't play about their hair. They get their little curl updo. And I was like, I need to have a silk scarf when we go to bed. And then even that, Andy like made sure that has a whole moment.
Love
Little
that
things like that, just that give it color and give it richness, give it tone, give it
Authenticity.
story.
That's right.
Yeah.
Never a bad idea to keep the people you love close.
Working with Andy, though, it really is collaborative.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like
yes.
he knows what he wants visually, but as far as the context inside, he really, he hired good actors to act. And so I asked him a lot about his process, and he says, Choco, that's his nickname. He says, Choco, I never know what I want until the end, because after I think I know. But once I see what you guys bring in take 3 or take 22, I go, oh no, they were right. Let me incorporate that. So it's super collaborative.
He offered me a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
There was a military expert. My character started off as a 2-star general. And then this military expert, advisor said, no, he could only be a 1-star general. I said, there's no way I'm going to be a 1-star general, And Andy said, how many stars do you want? I said 3. Make him a lieutenant general. So I could really have some authority. He was the tip of the spear of the Strategic Air Command, and he needed 3 stars. And Andy said, you got it.
What is it? Answer me. I don't know. I don't know what the hell it is.
Now, Stephen King came up with the character of Pennywise because he determined that the thing that kids feared the most were clowns. So as a kid, IMDb fans want to know, what did you fear more than anything else?
A Chucky doll.
What was it about Chucky?
Everything. His voice, he had the voice of a 48-year-old man with like a bad chain smoking habit.
You mean I have to live out the rest of my life in this body?
And he was like a crazy killer. And we actually had like a series of dolls. So I had a My Buddy doll that I had gotten when I was like 6 or 7. And after I saw Chucky, I didn't want that doll anymore, obviously, so I threw it out in the garbage. My older brother went to the garbage, got it out of the garbage, put it back in my bed while I was out playing with my friends.
Oh no.
And led me to believe that
he
my
came
buddy
back.
came back and walked back into my bed.
That is so scary.
I don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
Yeah.
I was scared of the pool, that there were sharks in it because I saw Jaws, and I saw that movie Piranha. I was scared of the most silly things. I had a wild imagination. I was scared I would sit on the toilet and someone was gonna stab me.
Or like a snake would come.
A snake, yes, under the bed, darkness, being outside too late.
Yes.
You must have known all along that these things were here. You wouldn't have brought all this stuff.
I had a dream. It was one of my first kind of remembered dreams, and I fell off the bed. It was the first time I had fallen off the bed. But the weird thing was, it was in the middle of this dream, and I fell through the floor and into hell.
Oh, that's scary. I was gonna say Satan was a scary part of it. I used to stomp on the ground like, because my mom would be like, the devil gonna make
That
me.
would just wake him up though.
No, I'd be like, stop making me do bad things.
Oh, like punishment, God.
People in this town, it's like the devil's in them.